This is TWiT.
Justine, you and Rich DeMuro had to go to Redmond to do CES.
Yeah, so Naomi Kyle and Brian Tong were the second set of hosts. So they had two separate kind of sections, like completely different productions. So we were the morning shift and they took the afternoon. So we were talking about this earlier, but my call time was like 1 a.m. So I had to wake up at midnight. God. We did rehearsals at 3 a.m. and went live at 4. So it was... Honestly, I've done overnight shoots before, but this was something that I've never experienced. I was going to bed at 4 p.m.
So you would introduce like the keynote speaker is here, and you would set that up, and then, but I didn't do any of it. I feel bad. I went to CES last year, and it was a lot of fun in Vegas, but I just couldn't bring myself to sit and watch video all day, so I didn't do any of it.
So it's on demand until the, my dog is
You can go back and watch it? That's okay.
Yeah, so it's there until February 15th. But it was cool because we were kind of the interstitial kind of bringing together.
And you were live.
It was live, yes.
Fun. What a great gig. So instead, it was a little smaller. Instead of 4,500 booths, there were 1,900 exhibitors. Nobody had to walk the show floor. Here you are in the Wall Street Journal. You did this show from the Microsoft studios. They have some very nice studios.
Redmond, they have this crazy, the set was amazing. And obviously my biggest concern was obviously COVID, because I have done basically nothing for the past year except work out of my house. And so it was great because everything felt very safe. It was very distanced. They had different routes that you could take. I had a specific room to go, like even catering. Like I had got so many questions about like, what was this like? How did it go? Because that's also going to be the new normal as far as production goes. So I don't think it'll ever go back to 100% the way that it used to be.
I have to say, watching, for instance, Apple's WWC and their keynotes, the 3 events that they did at the end of the year, it really was so much better. You miss the in-person, I guess. You miss the demo room, but it's a much better way to consume the information. And I think from Apple's point of view, it's a much more successful way to deliver it as well. It's there in a lot more control.
Yeah, and for people being able to cover it, like we don't have to travel. We're here, we get the products, and then, I mean, you might have less turnaround time, but at least we're here and ready to work. So I do miss the in-person, but I think this past year has taught us that there's a lot of unnecessary travel that really did not need to happen. There are better ways that we could do things.
You agree, David? Is this the future for trade shows? Virtual?
I go back and forth on this a lot. In the past, year or so, I think we've kind of watched the way, various companies and industries have responded to this. And some of them have been much more aggressive in pursuing the digital event strategy. And some have really just kind of turned back the tap and really made announcements feel a lot lighter touch, I would say.
Yeah, a good example, David, the Google event this year. Yeah. It was so sleepy, you know?
Very much so. And I think that you see companies, of two minds about this. I think Google has been very sensitive about not wanting to look like they're tone deaf, I guess you would say, while the pandemic's ongoing. But other companies have really, I think I've seen more stumbles than I have successes, quite honestly. I think the engagement at a lot of these events is quite terrible, to be honest. I know for a fact that I tune out of most of them.
Yeah, that's why I didn't watch. Yep.
Yeah, and that's the reason nobody watches. I think that's, in terms of journalists and brands, how they connect, this has been, to me, an unmitigated disaster for the last year. I really think most people have suffered for it, and you've gained more time to do more things, but it's come at the expense of kind of that hype and excitement and kind of the collective energy that these in-person events bring. I am not the kind of person who is going to, say that I get crazy excited about smartphone events. That's not really true, but I understand that they bring that energy and that mass of people together in a way that is far more effective in amplifying a brand's message than these digital events, which I've just seen failure after failure after failure. It's causing journalists, especially, just kind of to go through the motions when they announce news. They get everything ahead of time. They've got their product images, they've got all their virtual assets, and they've got their copy done. They file the story and they move on. There is not that deeper engagement that you tend to get at a show like CES, where you're able to kind of wander to the corner of the show floor and be like, well, there's something really weird over here, and I want to talk to the people who made it for 15 minutes. There was just, to me, there was no real effective outreach from the show. ago this year in that regard. But we've seen that from every event, in my opinion, and since COVID began. It's been a real uphill battle, and I think that most companies, from brands that I've talked to, there is a desire to get back out there and do events again. I don't think most of them are substantially turned off of it from a cost or attention standpoint. I think they're ready to get going again.
There is a huge difference in cost. You don't have to fly people out, put them up in a hotel. You don't have to have a $100,000 booth. It's a lot cheaper for companies to do this. But if they don't get the bang for their lesser buck, then maybe there is an incentive for them to want to do it. Justine, you must have been at Steve Jobs' iPhone announcement, which is 13 years ago last week. That was, there was an energy, there was an excitement there. Partly because we didn't know what he was going to say.
Yeah, I mean, you can't replace that feeling, but also, I mean, for me, like, being able to be at home, be in my element, have the product, I guess like some journalists, like you don't actually have to like sit down and like record videos and stuff like that. Right. So I feel like there is a little bit of a difference, whereas I can actually have time with it before I actually make the video. And so I think it really depends on the different types of people that are doing this stuff. But I mean, you will never be able to replace just being able to go and see your friends and other fellow coworkers and just enjoy the products, because there is that feeling, like David was saying, that you just can't replace that.